Samurai Champloo. There's a certain nostalgia I get thinking back to my childhood, at a sleepover, probably snacking on something, and staying up late to catch an episode of Champloo. It's a program I've now watched fully twice in my life, once when I was much younger, and another in the past year or so. I remember enjoying the show when I was a kid pretty much exclusively because of the cool sword fights. Back then, my primitive middle school brain didn't process much more than sword goes whoosh. However, with the more recent watch, I re-experienced the show with a much bigger brain. And sure, swords still go whoosh, which is pretty sick, but man, there's just so much more. Whenever I think about the greatness of the show, I just think of a big old tasty cake. The story is kind of like the base of the cake. No icing, at least not yet, it's just cake, and that's the story to me. Champloo's story is pretty solid. It has a clear direction and acts as a funnel to guide the characters towards the show's MacGuffin, which, of course, is the samurai who smells of sunflowers. Sure, a plain cake can be kind of tasty, but no one's coming to the birthday party for a raw icingless cake. No. They're coming for the icing, baby. And that's what Samurai Champloo is. Vats on vats of icing, all culminating into one big vibey cake. Mixing feudal Japan with that chill, old-school hip-hop feel was a decision that, frankly, sends me into vibe heaven every time I go back for that sweet, sweet nostalgia hit. The flashy sword fighting, snappy dialogue, and charismatic characters are really what sells the show. And my god, I cannot stress how good the music is. With that out of the way, let's time travel a year or so into the future. In 2006, Namco Bandai did the unthinkable. They released a tie-in video game to a popular early 2000s show. Truly an original idea for the time. This was Samurai Champloo Sidetracked. The game featured much of what Samurai Champloo's audience loved about the show. Flashy visuals, the same iconic characters, and that wavy lo-fi hip-hop that really puts the show on the map. I mean, just look at it. Like, really take a look, soak in all that icing. It's so damn stylish. But there was just one small problem. The game sucked. Well, hold on, kind of. It received pretty middling reviews and was criticized heavily for its repetitive, somewhat jarring gameplay. Also, that PS2 era camera angle, oof. You know, I've been trying to brainstorm up a funny line to sum up the game as a whole, but I did some digging and found this quote from IGN's review that pretty eloquently sums up Sidetracked's experience. Better than I ever could, at least. Man, this game is f***ed up. Monkeys with knives. And indeed, the game did have monkeys with knives, that's no lie. But, unfortunately, even that couldn't save it from mediocrity. So at this point, you're probably wondering why I'd want to make a game inspired by a pretty game from the early 2000s.
I don't know.
Honestly though, I want to capture the same vibes of the show, and much of Sidetracked, but with a cleaner, more engaging gameplay loop. Something Sidetracked really lacked. That's the plan, and that's what the rest of this video is about, so, with all that being said, let's build a cake. Wait, I should probably give some background on myself before we start. Real quick, I promise. Hi, my name's Ryan, and professionally, I'm a full-time software engineer. After 8 hours of sitting in front of a screen at work, I've been making the exhausting decision to come home, throw on my game dev hat, and get cracking on some Unity projects, some of which I have on the screen right now. Each of these games has been a massive improvement on the last, and I finally decided I want to delve into making a 3D commercial game. Outside of game dev though, my hobbies include coding, drinking heavily, and avoiding eye contact with women. Now that you know every little detail about me, let's get started. I cooked up a small scene for y'all to look at as I explain my process and what I want the game to be as a whole. Since this is only Devlog 0, much of the rest of this video will be pretty high-level plans for the future, and because of that, I'll try to be as concise as I can and not ramble off my entire design document. Right now though, as you can see, I have some basic movement involving our character, with some melee and blocking animations rigged up as well. These are placeholder for the most part, so a lot of this is set to change in the future, obviously. Unlike Sidetracked, which leaned very heavily into its style and look to carry the game, I want to capture that same style, but also provide fun, top-down gameplay at the same time. Flashy but less jarring is the feel I'm chasing. I really like the concept of a fast, parry-based action game, where parrying is as vital as rolling is in something like Dark Souls. In fact, basically Sekiro's combat system. To keep this game's combat and the game's world interesting, I'd like to include things like modern-day guns, weapons, and other things that don't really belong in feudal Japan. Some more things off the top of my head are like skateboards, lo-fi music, spray paint, that sort of thing. You know, only the real edgy stuff. In terms of the world, I'm envisioning a small open world with meaningful quests in which many culminate into a boss fight. I have a bunch of ideas related to this that I'll talk about in a future video, but just know that my aspirations are quite big now. I might need to reel in scope eventually, but I'm gonna dream big for now. In regards to game feel, style, and polish, I'm definitely feeling heavily inspired by Champloo Sidetracked, with flashing colors and super stylish depths. I'm gonna try and take full advantage of the silhouette execution featured in very popular Japanese games like Sidetracked and Persona 5, which is a favorite for me. I'd also love to hear your ideas as well. I'm always open to trying new things and ideas in order to capture that style the best I can. Next on the list is art. As you should already be able to tell, the Japanese/samurai setting is what I'm going for. I'm not an artist, like, at all, so I'll be leaning pretty heavily on low poly assets. I'm hoping, with some modifications, I can really make them fit and jive with the rest of the game. Visually, I have this picture in my head of a sort of low poly Ghost of Tsushima, obviously not to that level, but I'd like to incorporate similar striking colors and flowing grass and fields, that whole feel. This does raise some FPS concerns, with all the interactable and moving grass, but luckily, I'm no stranger to performance issues, so shouldn't be too much of a hurdle. Anyway, I have a handful of story and character ideas that I'm going to leave out for now and save for a future devlog, so I want to focus pretty much solely on gameplay for the foreseeable future. Making the game feel good is my #1 priority. Focus on the cake before I focus on the icing. And now that you've heard all my ramblings, you might be thinking to yourself, Ryan, this sounds like way too big of a game, what the hell are you thinking? And my response to this is, yeah, you're probably right. As development continues, I'll adjust scope depending on how long things take, especially concerning the whole open world aspect of the game. With that being said, I want to hear all your ideas, thoughts, and criticisms. I'll be sifting through the comments on the hunt for ideas I can really latch onto, and if I find something I really like, I'll make sure to put your comment in a future video. The game's page is actually up on Steam right now, by the way, so it'd be immensely helpful if you could take the time and throw a wishlist my way, if you're at all interested in the project. Like and subscribe too, that'd be super cool. See ya.